because it defies the feminist ideology that we've been indoctrinated into following. The word submissive is frequently used in Worthy Woman and has the potential to trigger feminists.
What up, dude? This your boy Peanut the People's Nut Man, back with another one. I'm just a practitioner of life giving helpful advice. But we're going to highlight or show how a feminist mindset can damage or break your relationship. I'm going to chop it up because her videos are kind of long, but I like her channel. But I'm going to put her channel name down in the description. But let's jump into this.
Look at feminism as a failed social experiment, and I've made videos that address issues surrounding feminism. But in the past, I used to be the biggest feminist you could ever meet. Recently, I was asked what feminism today. People are curious to know what took place. What was my journey? There was a process involved that required me to get to a point where I questioned my own beliefs. During this process, I learned from reality. I started noticing the impact feminism was having on individual people. Unfortunately, this took several years and a lot of mistakes in order for me to finally come to terms with the lessons life taught me. With that being said,
I think that's why so many women have mental illness or so many things, because their ideal of reality, once the rubber meets the road, doesn't match up with reality. So that cognitive dissonance makes, like, it just breaks their stuff, so they get messed up in the head and they need these antidepressants, or they need alcohol to cope with the actual truth of reality, because it doesn't match up to what they thought it was. Let's jump back into it.
I need to be clear. I do not condone any form of misogyny. Being critical of or even against feminism does not make someone a misogynist. If you believe that this is true, look up the term false dichotomy and you'll see that this is a logical fallacy. I also don't want to demonize feminists or say that they're bad people. Women and men who identify as feminists have absorbed what their society tells them is true. And you can't punish someone for conforming to their own society, no more than you can blame a 4-year-old who was born in the United States for speaking English. People, especially children, integrate what's around them without even trying to. I think most feminists believe in fairness and justice, but they've been misguided by pop culture, social media, and circles of university intellectuals. For me, feminism didn't originate from hatred of men, but from envy of them. I was a tomboy when I was a kid. I didn't like wearing dresses, and I wasn't interested in makeup. I liked to play outside, explore the woods, collect rocks, and I liked to read. I was unafraid of getting dirty. I mostly played with a male cousin of mine who was the same age as me, and I remember feeling like his behavior gained the approval of my family members, but mine didn't. In fact,
I've been saying this for a long time, and I do believe a lot of women uh, adopt the feminist ideology out of penis envy, because they want to be they want to be males and do things that males do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's masculine or feminine. I need to get back to that. That just because you like to do masculine things or dress a certain way, it shouldn't be deemed as masculine or feminine. Technically, she's kind of right, and like, there's really no biological difference as far as, like, we bleed, we do, but men do have more bone density, we have more muscle mass. So there are other differences, but as far as, like, the functionality inside of the world, there really isn't no difference. So, and women have proven that they can. Some are capable of doing the same thing that men are doing. Some are capable of changing tires. Some are capable of putting up TVs. It may be more difficult for them, but they are capable of it.
with hair and makeup and looking so dolled up and attractive. And I remember thinking that I'm supposed to turn into that, but I didn't think I could ever be that pretty. And I hated the idea of receiving attention from men because as a child, it sounded disgusting and wrong. I associated femininity with stupidity, crying, complaining, shopping, and fragility. My mother and sisters were big believers in feminism. Even though I was separated from them as a child and was raised by my father, the Indoctrination. In high school, during my years of self searching, I embraced feminism fully, and I thought my beliefs would never change. I've always been a person who takes my beliefs very seriously, and I've always been determined to have the integrity to live according to those beliefs. When I started receiving attention from boys, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know how to respond to it. I had crushes on boys, but I was always too shy to talk to them about it. I consider myself to be a late bloomer. I think feminism appeals to women who are intelligent, and this is one reason why it is so insidious. As a child, I remember thinking that I was just as smart, if not smarter, than the boys I interacted with, and this made me confused. I absorbed a message that I later identified as men are the standard, and that women are derivatives of men. When you think of a human, you think of a man, not a woman, because women are incomplete human beings. This made me feel defiant and more committed to my feminist beliefs. I genuinely felt that inside, I was no different from a boy. I also felt like the core of who I was separate from my body. I believed that the only difference between men and women was what was between their legs, and I resented the idea that I would be judged by my looks just because I was born a girl. Even as a child, I understood that good looks were superficial and temporary, so I didn't see the point in putting too much stock into it. I believed I had much more to offer the world using my mind.
Not to cut it off so quickly, but like she said, beauty is fleeting. So when you put so much into that stock, like a lot of modern women are doing, and they keep saying men just think they could get hotties and baddies, but beauty is fleeting. It's going to go away eventually. So you should work on your character and everything like that. And she had the right mindset to not want to be just judged by her looks. And I think that's what a lot of feminists back in the day were pushing, that they wanted to show that they're just as valuable as far as their mind. But now we're back to where a lot of women just objectify themselves and they put so much stock into their looks versus actually producing something outside of their looks.
I was taught to have disdain for men. I was taught that they were inherently malevolent and wanted to treat all women as baby making machines. I think the reason feminism appealed to me so much as a teenager is because I was thirsting for an identity. According to Erikson's stages of development, the goal of adolescence is to form an identity, and I felt that feminism gave me that identity. I felt like I alone knew about this grand conspiracy, and that most people couldn't access the information I knew, and this made me feel superior. However, the reality is that I wasn't good at discerning the truth in the first place. I wasn't thinking critically. I was just subscribing to an ideology that I thought made me unique. In other words, being a feminist made me feel good. It made me feel like I was a righteous person. As I got older and gained a lot more experience, I slowly obtained the ability to determine the truth for myself. My brain had been hijacked. I felt betrayed because I had given my faith to feminism, only to realize that it had led me to make terrible choices that I would later regret. Feminism began to negatively affect my life in a major way when I got married. Soon after marrying my husband, I became a mother, and then 8 months later, I started working full-time as a nurse. It became clear in the first 2 years of my marriage that I had no idea how to be a wife. I went to marriage counseling with my husband for several months, but things didn't get any better. In fact, they only got worse. My husband and I began having long, drawn-out fights that were sometimes very intense. Most of our fights had to do with my husband not following my orders. I was stubborn, and I had a strong will. I believed that it was my duty to lead him in the relationship. I believed that it was my job to hold him accountable for his actions and to punish him in some way whenever he disobeyed my wishes. I was always leading the attack, trying to get him on the defensive. I would nag him in an effort to get him to relent out of sheer annoyance. All of these things made my husband feel emasculated, but I didn't understand that at the time.
We see this happening all the time in relationships, especially with these strong, independent women. They get mad when they can't control you. And I'm glad that this woman is speaking out. I don't know if you guys seen that one viral video that's been going around where a woman was completely honest with herself and saying that I like men that I can control.
If you're not gonna do what I say, I don't want to date you. There, I said it. There, I said it. Unfortunately, I do like men that want me to boss them around. I do. You to the head of the household, but I'm boss. You clock into the house, which is mine. Hey yo, like, what do you?
And it's going to be hard to find a man that you can control. I think that's why they've been demonizing masculinity, because no man wants to be controlled. We value our freedom, unless you just a simp or a wimp and you subscribe to a woman's ideology, then you'll let her control you. And that's when you got these dudes kissing these OF girls' feet, doing all this crazy stuff, or messing with dominatrix. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that is kind of sexy when a lady get to like, come here, yeah, you know. But that's in small doses. You're not gonna do that for my whole life. You get what I'm saying? But we all can admit that some level of dominance from a woman in a sexual context, it kind of feels good. But like she said, a lot of women want to control every facet of a man's life, or your life that you guys create together. And the only way you can live in a happy home is that happy wife, happy life bullcrap. But if you're a man with your nuts and your backbone, you ain't gonna let that fly. But I am happy that more women are waking up from the feminist ideology that women are better, it's girls' world, and all this other stuff. Because in all honesty, we both need one another, and trying to force men to do a woman's bidding is pretty much never going to really act right, because women don't have the enforcement arm to make men do what they want. Men, we naturally are born with that. So that's why, again, I don't like that word patriarchy. That's why the order of things have been the order of things. But if you like this video, man, make sure you comment down below and tell me what you think about it. This your boy Peanut, the People's Nut, man. Peace.